다 니발람기 남자라 숨레스 당볼람기 미파니 가자다지 라완징기 동와 가자가 다음에 라바스다 이 거기 자기 지인하게 다음에 다가랑 차대요래 즉 오늘 제라마니 소데 단다버도 제라마에다 단다버도다 다음에 라바랑 지니요래 고 이래 에 가자 따든 살들가라 이해되면 세대 아니 단 딘등인데 또 7월 바차대요래 7월 바게는 배 가자 생디 따든 살은 말 라고라 말하는 미리긴 진짜 아니 가도 여사대 가르잖아 참에 비치고 민집이 따봐 제기르고 기지숨이다 어떻게 된다고 다들 남바상게 된다도 모두 봐대 다음에 라바스다 지 자기 지나가 다음에 됐대 단대 니바 가자라게도 벤제기 라기 동화 가자가 다음에 타모스데 다된 진줄들라 아니 즉 오늘 말한수 남베 투모마인 베차데요레 남바기 파기 가자 시리갈라 가자가 다 매라기 어때 이나양 진줄들라 아니 풍봉하다 시바되기도 가자되기 파기 뿌여서를 진다 들고래 이 가자 시긴데 뽐보 예번다고 아니 시바다 풍봉한테서 되기 코르다고 니 풍보 나기도 에 샘기보민도 데일 시엔디갈라 코 풍보레 주르도가 아니 시발레 주르도가 예베선지 나난게 옆에 이 나신지다 요마라 아니 랑캬와 어다 딘디기 니 바기 진줄텔레 동화데 다음에 타모 세데 가자 다음에 타모 다데 지 오늘 남바상기베 도모마인베 바기 다음에 타모 진줄테 동화데 어떤 더가래 줄루준 스마즈징이 동화 추기 다음에 라바 다데 지라마 단도베데 누가 마다 줄루준 스마즈징기 추기 다음에 타모 senza메 누구도 어떤 우마베 남 추기 다음에 라바 다 추이당 가자 시드가라 이 율 세거다 치 최 감제다 대사도 마두바데 아니 이 계지의 가자 이자네 대사도 마두바 추기 어다 대 누구라 최탐제 렌두기 동화 추기 다음에 타몽스데 다디 양 오마베 도모마인 베차데요레 어다 지 최den제 렌두기 동화 추기 다음에 타몽 다 넘버 두체 간데지 예메 두바타도 간데지 남긴두 민두 다 삼로다나 마란주 최 간데지 나용데가라 율 코랑오니 바기 되메도 젠지라 마테바선지 어떤 게 아래 니 제바마체제도 시자체도 따가라래 삼삼제 용거아래 당문이 제바판 딘지 삼로다 아니 지데 간데시린도 디 간데시 tum도 지선에 아니 유 현 소파 차당 자진 망보 진트니 두바마도 코랑 운 좀 내긴지 지암내 봐지 코는 제바던 딘지기 제시다나 어다 딘지 라야요 받아 딘지 하고예요 봐지 차거 어라 어다디 세버리 되어레스
Page 288, objects of observations. Assertion on the parts. This section has 3 parts. Objects of observation of the parts, objects abandoned by the parts, and the nature of the parts. Objects observation of the parts. The yogic autonomists assert that a person's emptiness of being permanent, unitary, and independent is a core selflessness of persons. So, self, which is emptiness of being permanent, unitary, and independent. If you remember, this is one of the this is the selflessness in the 4 seals, and the kind of self which is permanent, unitary, and independent is asserted by non-Buddhist schools, and in Buddhists here, a person's emptiness, the lack of all these qualities, permanent, unitary, independent, is a coarse selflessness, and it has a 2, coarse and subtle. So this is a coarse selflessness. The subtle selflessness, they assert that a person's emptiness of being substantially existent, in the sense of being self-sufficient, is a subtle selflessness of persons. So the subtle selflessness of person is, generally, we mentioned this before, generally the way we look at and the way we apprehend or comprehend, ourself. 5 aggregates and then consciousness. So our aggregated body is made up of these 2 parts. And when we talk about self or person or I, the way we look at this is, that I is like a dominant power or leader or king, and this, the consciousness and the aggregates are like, subsidiary things or servant or something that serve these mind or consciousness. Something that serves the person or I. Therefore, we use all the time expression like I'm not happy, I'm sick, as if I and the illness is 2 different things. As if I and mind is totally 2 different things. And we hold onto this kind of understanding that I is this kind of I independently or self-sufficiently existing out there, but that kind of I in reality doesn't exist. So that is here, a subtle sense of being self-sufficient is the selflessness of persons. You can further read this. There's a long note under that. So the selflessness of phenomena and the selflessness of person. The nature of the selflessness is the same, but the only difference is 2 different bases of foundation. The selflessness which is on the phenomena is selflessness of phenomena. The selflessness which is related or pertaining or on the person is selflessness of phenomena, just like the emptiness. Yogic autonomists assert that a form's emptiness of being an entity other than the prime cognition apprehending the form is a coarse selflessness of phenomena. They assert that the emptiness of true existence of all phenomena is a subtle selflessness of phenomena. Again, here, kind of selflessness of phenomena is, 2 level. One is coarse or rough, one is subtle selflessness of phenomena. And again, as said before, when we, talk about lack of self-sufficient, lack of independent existence, lack of objective existence, we need to kind of, in our general life, we don't look beyond, those words. And so therefore, as said before, the phenomena out there, they appear to us as if, they exist self-sufficiently, objectively, by itself or by themselves, without kind of anything to do with cause and effects, solidly, independently existing out there. And that understanding, we kind of follow that, and we function according to this kind of, mistaken understanding. But if you put this understanding under, subject of analysis, then we will know that what we have been holding to the, understanding is wrong. Phenomena out there, the way it appears to us independently, self-sufficiently, objectively, is not the reality. They exist, as we said many times before, relying upon cause, factors, conditions, different parts, and interdependency. They exist based or relying upon dependent origination or interdependency.
Tani balam gi pancha sigdo lam sidigala kandeji de gang chik tebarangin ranam ge divu ngondi cheche chinji jila ene lam sigore indigala ta chik ko ting galchen de da matale ko ngondi kirgu meinza oda panche galchen de ene Pagi Dordona, Numonda, Nundita Shitips, Numumbitivada Shindivas, Numumbindivade, Kandesi Lani, Numumbindivas Gore, Kandesi la Shindivas Gore. Ani Tigita, Numon City Gala, Ani so Marazo Seventh Tarp Pagi. 세메당게 장배 인된 두발라 땡경인데 녀몽고 또 원두교네 잡거래 셈럽도 머저 어찌니 녀몽 차디요래 근데 녀몽이 디바데 라파 차디요래 어떻게 인디가라 오니 즉 람기 방자데 우리 집과데 뱀미스베 개침보 차디요래 Nibalam ke bhanjane kanza ke danji nindib sidigala nanta kanza ke danji dela tharangi lesson danjin tharangi ka yongurwa ani ta maranzu rabe ondo chana danjin thamoda yede danjin rabang aso ondi kurde to 리 지금 말에 상인 지금 말에 나인 지금 말에서기 단진지도와 이 집이 다바데 온디교도 이니 바제는 아니 참에비 지부선데 진지 아니 수지라 마테바 아니 수 개량타부 어떻게 맞아도와 다 제기들보다 얘네 맨날 가시대 간제디 라메 라파든 가서 카도미도아 디마 카디발라 라메 참모 델레캬 단진 참모던 가서 길에 예로 다팅이 얘나 아니 딱 가서 가서 그래 사람들 길라 니 차선요모 아니 방젤파 문진들이야 하버래 땅돌래야 말어 Tarun be Nichilla Tarochi, Nensenji, Tenichi Matuvina, Nitikyo was on the sea Yangadua. The Indivala, New Movement Diva sing the only Kachimbuchadiore, the Pamachavala, New Mum Meazavala, Dadun and the Zanzin, Tinzin Tikiti, Muni Kakwayat, Kachimburi, for the Indivala, Chikmune Yaniando. Tisu samdang warta, tisu samdang na nga zu rung mito diji di mada, mito chima de la nga zu danji katu ya la kaba che sare. Tati jipe ke chenpo chire. Chugi danji shidu dunda do se. Di indi gala kansa ke dame tamu mata na chugi dame tatu marwa. Chugi dame tamadane chugi rame dewang ranjin dewang ki jashabe 시진리바 빠자되기도 방토야 가버려 시집ля 준제 제진은 짐바 시집라바 풍소기 제dendu든 짐바 아니 시집 참원도도 풍소 시비가라 풍풍을 수면에 다 이마임바 감당 예절서 보용으로와 어떻게 되래 숨발람기 라진이 람가 숨정한도도 다 람당보 초람 쇼람 통람 공람 밀로람제데 람가여레 람가데 닌티기 람가 절 라이게 람가 ini teaching lama chide lama sun chonga sede otate re keparne rangya parche melam da nonrolam ni tongi gi namba chin gobar khele no tat chi parche melam ta une bhage tebararalangi karak bhage chin gomchiso karena telangnya berjabi nyabja isi chadi ore namrolam sidigala dendong jumato butapi tobe loji chadi ore nala raji meba oda tendi loji chadi ore
Page 289, objects abandoned by paths. So as you know, the path, 289 last paragraph, path is refers to something that when you adopt leads to the final destination or achievement. And so in order to reach that ultimate destination or achievement, what one must be doing is to eliminate all obstacles that sort of creates barrier to reach that result or destination. So and for that obstacles, as we discussed in the earlier school of thoughts, obstacles they mainly categorize into two. The word that's used in this text is obstructions to liberation, and then obstructions to omniscience. And that the word that I used more often is for the first one, delusive obscuration, and the second is wisdom obscurations, two type. And so, what are these two obscurations according to this school? The yogic autonomists assert that consciousness is conceiving the coarse and subtle versions of a self of persons are the obstructions to liberation. They assert that consciousness conceiving cause and subtle versions of self or phenomena are the obstructions to omniscience. So, two different levels of obstructions or obscurations, and generally when we say defilements or delusions, or what it refers to is whatever kind of things or phenomena that interrupts or that disturbs generating good quality within us. And many of the these coarse level of obscurations or obstacles can be experienced by us in our day-to-day life. So here, when we talk about what needs to be abundant when you adopt a path, the most important thing is to identify what are the obstacles. Without identifying or knowing the obstacles and barriers, there's no way that you can eliminate those. If you don't know what these are, and what are you going to eliminate? And so the coarse level of obstructions or obscuration, for example, self-grasping. Self-grasping. Because of the self-grasping, comes what we call holding on to sense of permanence. We have this, all the time. The feeling, that I'm not going to die today, I'm not going to die tomorrow, and not next year, and not next. We have that feeling within us. And so here, this is from the self with three qualifications. This is the first one, being permanent. We have that sense of ourself being permanent, and then unitary, and independent. And we have, to some extent, we have this feeling within us too that, I am sort of self-sufficient. My existence won't depend on others. We have this kind of gross level of, which another way of saying is obstructions within us. So as long as we have this, and Geshe says he's not sure about kind of substantial entity of the selfness or I-ness, how does that exist within us? He is not sure about that. But as long as we have this kind of, holding on to, I or self as permanent, independent, unitary, there is no way that we can eliminate, negative mental emotions, attachment, anger, hatred. Instead, because of not identifying these and not realizing that these are the actual causes of problems within us, we might actually encourage, if you lack kind of these mentalities like hatred or anger, or you might say, you are not good enough. You have to have these kind of negative qualities. You might kind of look kind of negative as a positive thing. So and a person who are kind of full of hatred, anger, all this negative, we might consider those person as successful, motivated, all good, and this happens because when we don't know how to identify what are the the root causes within us and what are the obstructions within us, and so therefore grasping to self or self-grasping, then going on to kind of extreme, these are the things that we need to be abstaining at our best, and not kind of letting ourselves dominated by these kind of strong negative, powerful thoughts or mentalities. So if we kept kind of, encouraging, these negative mentalities and their kind of influences and their characteristics, it might take us one more, several more generations to understand these, actual causes of the obstructions. Obstructions to omniscience. Self of phenomena is the obstructions, are the obstructions to omniscience, and self of person, obstructions to liberation, or self of person is the delusive, and self of phenomena is much subtle, and obstructions to omniscience and wisdom, obscuration. So without, with this, when you compare these two, self of person and self of phenomena, self of person is considered as a gross level, more easy to understand, and then once you have a good understanding or eliminate all the obscurations pertaining to self of person, then you can move on to obscurations to omniscience or wisdom obscurations. So without kind of eliminating the first step, you won't be able to reach the second. 290. There are two types of obstructions to omniscience. Wisdom obscuration is further categorized into two. They assert that a consciousness conceiving an otherness of substantial entity of apprehended object, an apprehending subject is a cause obstruction to omniscience, and that a consciousness conceiving the true existence of phenomena such as the mental and physical aggregates is a subtle obstruction to omniscience. Moving on to nature of the parts, the yogic autonomists assert that 5 parts of the 3 vehicles, making 15 parts, just as the other systems do. It's the same as the previous, path. 15 or 5 for each vehicle. Here is solitary realizers and Mahayana, each has 5, beginning from the path of preparation, and then accumulation, part of seeing, part of meditation, no more learning. Same 5 for each vehicle, and total 15. The difference is in their assertion that an uninterrupted path and path of release of a solitary realizer must have the aspect of realizing an emptiness of duality of subject and object. Lamgi rangchi lamgi debu to sun sam lo
loya mare tada sumba dibi namjada loya mare ta lamnga sumchonga dugas lamnga sumchonga nana dinada sega yo mare sirwa solam dela solam chu din chembo sumche yo res dindigala chojur niga nala ta teba chembo ina chojur niga la kalje tame choso guare kalje tame cho tambe chode ani solam de jolam nila jolam dela jolam tre zemo zepa chejoze de jiarese tu sine lamgi la pare kebrchena di chair de salam da pe misi de sarpo yarese de sokanga
page 290, the nature of the path, differences in their assertion that the uninterrupted path and the path of release of a solitary realizer must have an aspect of realizing the emptiness of duality of subject and object. Uninterrupted path refers to, whenever the practitioner is concentrated on the object of meditation of that vehicle is considered as the uninterrupted path. So therefore, path of hearers has its own path of uninterrupted path. Path of the solitary realizers is they have their own, and Mahayana has their own uninterrupted path. The path of release of the solitary realism. So if you look at your note, it mentioned uninterrupted path is the meditative equipoise. Uninterrupted path is a meditative equipoise vanquishing the obstructions of that level. It leads directly without interruption to the attainment of the path of release. Path of release and experience of having vanquished those obstructions. Path of release, I think the word that we used before is thoroughly liberated path. Namdullam is the Tibetan word. Namdullam means thoroughly liberated. And here it is used as part of release of solitary realizer. Thoroughly released, path usually refers to the understanding or the mind that perceiving all phenomena as by nature of illusion, in the sense that all phenomena lack true existence, or another way of saying is by nature they are emptiness. That understanding, thoroughly established, thoroughly liberated path. So, and for the path, although it is not mentioned here, so the path, the path of seeing, Kishila said, path of seeing can be further carried, although it is not mentioned here, and I just mentioned, Kishila, that I think it was mentioned in the one of the two lower schools, the different levels of the five path. The path of seeing has a small, medium, great, and the path of part of accumulation. Part of accumulation has small, medium, great, and then part of preparation has 4 stages. Heat, tourism. heat, peak, patience, and supreme dharma. These are the four stages of the path of preparation.
그때도 솔람다 졸람니라 텐디지 인디갈라 팅이 수수케 람레 있어와 수수케 람 인디갈라 담보 대기 나란주 수수라 사무다네 수수 에니페 파기 니가바다 사무다데 단진도야 프랍시제 제바제네 다 오니 그치기 대화매 봐 그치기 파기 그치지야 내야매 가 누구여 와대 직세고 하고는 테러선이 자네 제톱 기타 때 티갈라 자연디갈라 애니 조금데 도스진데이나 텐다용 당부지 제검지 되니 제검 제바티 담배네 배 돈달라 소리 자 루시네 냠자라 또뭐 봐야 돼 마도 솔람 중문이 솔람 징라 봐야 돼 냠자라 보고 그래 이제 덥다 남절럼 때문에 봐야 된 자원이니가 말이야 아니 솔람 첨부 징이 첨부 봐야 돼 냠자니 보고 그래 아니 디니 솔람 첨부는 졸람 트레스 트레 시디갈라 다 랑게 곰치 소가니나 다 곰치 소 달람 소소 곰치 소 투모모 임바여와 그 가자게 디인디갈라 곰치 소텔라 빼nga 좀 매마 마당 공르라 nga 트레드 진디고 봐 어떻게 곰치 소텔라 상난 통이 트레게 트레게 nga 테치데 트레스야 돼 데니쯤 대저 봐 저서 도스진 곰치 소텔라 때문에 솔람니 존데 곰게든 데인가 오늘 가기 살란타에 ngal테 되지는 거래. 어다 두시네. 용거를 대지리 갈라다. 이니 람땡이 갈라. 저까지 땅부터 저거. 되니 니바 마다사든. 다 사땅보데 그 상황만 따뜻해 살만 보지를 사땅보니 아니 돈이도 가서 사땅부터 봐. 바람 더봐. 토남 더봐 때서 뛰님래. 어떻게 인디가라 사탕보니 듬바버도 마다사 뒤인라거래. 마다 세게 가르잖아. 시진디바 마다 인사 마다사 뒤인시. 이게 봐 구바 주바서나 따바사숨세데. 시진디바 따가 인사 따바사숨세. 또 반자 때님에 가자 말해. 예. 녀모빈디바다 따가르데. 시진디바터롱 방글리디어르. 테니 링이나 tienen gocham karo ota tendegi khapare yare tati dinata sabu ya marde phage salam na sabu yare sorry inti indikal zamja sana mare
so when you look at the five path, the first path of accumulation, then second part of preparation, and for the part of accumulation, as we said before, three level: small, medium, and great. And then for the part of preparation, heat, peak, patience, supreme dharma, full level. And these two, in terms of accumulations of merit, three countless eons. That we the text says that three countless eons. First countless eons is created, in these two paths, path of preparation and path of accumulation, and these two are also called the path of the ordinary being, and how can a practitioner kind of promote it from one path to the next path? As we said before several times, it happens only at the stage of meditative equipoise. There are two stages: meditative equipoise and aftermath. And for example, for the ordinary being, one of the main obstacles is grasping to permanence. So when we do meditation, we first start thinking or analyzing about that we are by nature momentary. We changes from moment to moment. So thinking and analyzing, and we come to the point where we realize that we are not permanent being, and then we eliminate this permanent grasping, grasping to permanent, and so that is the in the meditation, that is the analytical part. And so once you attain that, then we focused, and concentrated totally on that kind of calmness of the mind, which understood the impermanence of ourself, and that is from the analytical, and the concentration is the second part of the meditation, concentrative, and that happens at the meditative equipoise, and and so part of preparation, as we said before, has 4 stages, beginning with the heat, and heat is just like as you come closer to the fire, you feel this warmness. It's like as you come nearer to the destination, you can feel you can have the experience kind of. And so in terms of, again, 3 countless eons of accumulation of positive merits. So first 2 path, first eons, and then second countless eon is created during what we call 7 impure path, and that refers to from the 7 impure ground. I'm sorry. So that refers to first ground until 7th, and then from 8, 9, 10, those 3 are called pure. And pure and impure is based on whether one has from the true obscuration, wisdom obscuration, or obscurations to omniscience. So if you still have obscuration, Vishal said it's not wisdom to omniscience, it's a wisdom to liberation. That is delusive wisdom, a delusive obscuration. So if you have a delusive obscuration, and that's impure path or impure ground, and that starts from first ground to 7th. And so why impure 7th ground, according to the or for the definite lineage of Mahayana definite lineage, from first ground until 7, the practitioner will totally concentrate or focus on eliminating delusive obscurations from the 2. And once they reach this 8th ground, then they start eliminating from the 2 obscuration the 2nd, that is obstructions to omniscience or wisdom obscuration. And if you remember, we mentioned this many times. Geshe-la said, first ground is same stage as path of seeing, or Arya being, or spiritual being, and these all are on the same stage, or first ground, and from the 5th path, and 3rd path, path of seeing. And we'll stop here. Question.
I think that you answered that one earlier, but I think in relationship to that, one thing what you're talking about with the Shindu, the 2 different obscurations, are obviously the grosser obscurations are the ones that are focused on and removed first, and then the subtler ones are next. But in here, we're talking about the subtle obscurations being physical and mental. It seems to me that seems a little backwards, or it feels backwards. that it seems that the closer you're peering down into the final stuff to get rid of, that the outer layers are physical and mental first. But the way this is worded, it sounds like the obstructions to omniscience, or the obstructions to omniscience are the physical and mental. Yeah.
Is that your first question?
Yeah. First question.
Then you can go to the second longer question. Okay.
What I'm saying is that the way this is presented, it seems like the smaller stuff goes first, the bigger stuff later. Is that a matter of perception?
Panja rinpoche jorwa sherip da nyöndu dusanda dinalo vijinalo sonda china panja rinpoche di tangbo di panja tangbo di pangsa da nipa di pangbo ro da she thara gwang china din de ne kuran tangbo de chiwa tangbo de se bje panja thawa de la ne ka
gunla pa rapa de jugo pa ne
de sonda da na de korim do yo ro kuran de son sa panja thawa de la ne de yo ro lo du khasa sugda shebeni be panja sugda shebani ga ge de ding panja sugi kalore sugi chashi la orta sugi chashi ina shebek chashi niga yo ding shuo ro lo panja thawa de la de yo sona ne kalore panja ge rimba di korim de do to yo do sa thangbo panja thawa de ne panja rapat pangu ro
tene mares panja ta thawa tambur panya mara tambur rapa ta pang kar karjana nyempo cherimni panja ti go are panja rapa ta tambur pang ngaran se tulo ji thugi na tulo trapa rapa de chunyun ji dan je nyun ji na rapa de me cha do wa ta pa ge tima thamo thuale chu ma bo go are iji na shu chumbo go wa te son ji de rapa de ko rapa la nyempo ko rapa chitana di ko are ani ya panja thar ru de gala ni nyempo shu cheru tane nyempo pe shu cher tang ko are tindi shedi ringe wando jena shedi de rapa insa sa tang boni phagi ringe de nyaran lam la ke maju insa ko tingun la ni be lensa tang boni rapa de phang ko are rapa de phang te dini sa ge ban nyumu di ba chadang pansa ni sa ge ban ni jini shedi gocham koro pangela ko thaware chadi ore karzan ti wangi ja shabe pacha di chadi ore dan thank you to chan dan di chana shedi bla ni zunzi zijin zimba de da phunso ji chue dembar to zimba wa linjin di pe kaza ga danjin sipigala nga dembar nga ni be tagi kisi sumdangi da inanda ani ar kaza ga ge de je da to to zimba de nga chukile ye ro ting rang da dewa ye insa ko panga le la ya re samudana tos khurgi ya re samudane buji ta na phunso che de rang da dewa me insa di gaja dendu kala pe misi ba khabo to khagarwa thar chimbare indigala ko samno mangbuji ta na ma to samlo khorang khurgu mare di pangala to ngone nim giri pung chumbuji gu mena ko panthu ya khabo cha de
you know the object of elimination and the antidote, so how you use the antidote against the object of elimination. And the example, the typical example that we see in the scripture is, when you wash your cloth, if the cloth is really, really dirty, you don't need that much water. Small amount of water, you can, clean the dirtiest part. But if the level of, the stain or dirtiness is, very subtle, you need a lot of effort. So that's kind of, how you use the, the antidote and the, so the antidote, the antidote that you use is kind of gross antidote for the, the small kind of small antidote for the gross, and as the object of illumination becomes much subtler and subtler, the antidote becomes stronger and stronger. So that's that happens same with the two obscuration. The first one, delusive or obstructions to liberation. That is more gross as compared to the second, and the grasping to truth or truth grasping, which is much closer to ourself, kind of how self, exists independently or permanently or single or unitary, is much closer to ourself, and therefore, easier to kind of, if you really think deep and make some effort, easier to kind of grasp, and as compared to the selflessness of phenomena, which is much subtler than. So, so the gross, the order is correct. The gross is first, and then second is subtle, and it is based on the level of intensity and how you apply antidotes.
So it really is about perspective, and that's why one small mistaken view, one small bhakshot prevents a 10th level bodhisattva from precluded.
방자 체림니 님보 충림니 숨도세 되던 바래스 방자의 전부 락바락바에서 님보 충충이 되나고 디차거라
디슈세
그때 숨도세 그때 다가라베스.
So we just mentioned the same thing that he said before. When the object of illumination is gross or big, or the antidote that you use is small antidote. Just use small effort, small antidote. And as the object of illumination becomes smaller and smaller, the antidote becomes much stronger and stronger, kind of inversely proportional.
So now the next question concerning what we talked about during the break. These four the direct perceivers that we're talking about in the relationship to the first four of the five skandhas. That then this I'd like to kind of relate it to this first question I just asked. That when we're dealing with if the relationship holds that we were talking about, if my assertion was correct, if he understood me, then this relationship with the skandhas and the direct perceivers that we're talking about, then the sense direct perceivers would be the least amount of antidote, and then all the way down to the yogic direct perceivers would require the most. Is that correct?
그러나 저의 교수로 가서 네 도시를 당고 저 당고 대시 네 자초로 해서 당연한 종교 좀 시어라 원은 좀 내종 좀
원배문 좀 시지 라르문 좀 맞아문 좀
내조 좀 시디 아니 가서 남주 풍부가요라 풍부가네 아니 당보다다 수급 풍부라 원은 좀 제한도스 풍부시라도스 무슨 시도 시지 않나 되게 왜로도 도시 안에 대신에 되게 해서 아니 계속 되는 자는 되게나 아니 왕은 좀디 당벌에 좀 근데 왕은 좀디 칼로거리들로 님보 용실된 거로 해서
왕봉은 좀 님보 용샤서는 왕봉은 좀기 생데 일기 율고 왕보다당 그 코란도 가리나 다이나 다티네티노 왕보 10 되지로와 답답해 바저 로이나 왕보 태고 왕보 일단 로다 제왕이 태고 와라 미시나 하기 달 코로나진 태고 태고 말에 일대 태고도 다이나님 강인진 다다 태고도 딜라 두스의 저기 강 인기 말에 상도스 가라는 왕봉 무슨 세드가나 왕비 율기 자와 제단의 시기어라 왕봉 무슨 이경 무슨 세대 이기 이왕 이경 무슨 그런 자와 제단 만나만다요라 트라기 때버려라.
So the four types of direct perception, sense, mental, cognizing, and yogic. Kushila said he's not sure that can as you said before match with the four aggregates. here when they are talking about direct perception, they are talking about how these perceptions are functioning. They way of functioning. For example, when they talk about the senses, the five senses and how they function. And in order to function, the sense must encounter the object. When eye consciousness perceives something, what it is saying is that eye consciousness perceive some object, and then there is a perception that seeing happen. So, and when you say that you perceive a sound or you heard sound, what that means is that your ear consciousness has encountered with the noise or sound out there. So here they are talking about how sense, mental, self-cognizing, and yogic kind of function. So he said he's not exactly sure whether it can sort of matches with the aggregates.
무슨지대 부봉알을 잘 걸어서 걸어.
부봉알 잔날로도 그런 수기 풍부 초에 풍부 뒤에 풍부 지어라. 이게 그 수기 풍부들의 수기 숨이 가자.
왕보디잖아.
오늘 무슨
서로 풍부라. 근데 다 같이. Number 7 풍부. 되네. Number 7 풍부대 된 rimbache jarina najong musumde number 7 풍부를 잘 보고다.
도원도 잘 쓰거든.
이때는 리사고라 말해.
So then, if you do that matching and, you keep on going, then as you said before, yogic direct perception has to match with the consciousness, right? Then that will sort of move to totally wrong direction.
wrong side. The najong musumde tab ya nimada tubu kramara.
Because yogic direct perception can be attained only at the height of realization, and there are lots of yogic direct perception can achieve until you reach the first ground, and that is part of seeing. And what would be the consciousness prior to that? Which of course all the consciousness of ordinary beings. The yogic direct perception, you can achieve that only at the level of part of seeing, or first ground. And the first part of seeing is, third path, when you look at the five paths. So there are lots of consciousnesses, that exist prior to part of seeing, like part of preparation, part of accommodation. So how, he's just asking what you're going to do with those consciousness. It doesn't fit in here.
You couldn't judge a manda in the jar, but those marriage. Village marriage. Tambulana.
Kagi you charge.
Wambi Musum Stigi, Wambi Yulu Koran Javacheta, Yulu Pagi Tebegone, Zutan Tedigi, Tebegone Javacheta. You Musum saying the Yul Matebone Javachero. Kui, Devi, Yul Teado, Yuala. Tini Wambi Musum, Rari Musum Sidigala, Sheba Rari Yula, Sheba Kramado. Chizu Guniomara Chiche Sheba Horang Yonzamji, Javachigoro. Nazarung Sum saying the Yulna Sanang Tumbegone, a Pagi, Ganan Tamjing about it, young Tumuma in the Yamlinjig Tony, Yajiro.
So, here when they talk about four types of direct perception, as said before, these are categorized mainly based on how these four sense, mental, self-cognizing, yogic, consciousness are functioning based on their function. So, as said before, when we talk about senses, the senses has the perception of the senses happens only, encountering with the object. And the second, the mental, in order to have a mental perception, it is not necessary to have an encounter with the object. And for the self-cognizing, the object has to be only consciousness, not external phenomena. And then for the yogic direct perception, it is special realization that one can achieve within the five paths, and which is not common among the ordinary beings. And that yogic direct perception is special level of realization or clarity that one can attain. So it's a unique, consciousness, not.
The flaw in that drawing that I gave you is that I was going from the macroscopic to the microscopic, outward to inward, but they should actually be flip-flop based on. As you work your way down from here, we think we're the bigger component, but when you work all the way down to non-Parshepa, it is back to ultra microscopic, just like during the mandala. The golden ground is the biggest aspect, but from our perspective, it isn't. So flip-flop those 5 rings, and I think it makes sense.
The gomjulosun degree was one to what the lagusar. Numbership bachora and the wangum. So I was saying that the consciousness can match with the sensed direct perception, and then the other way around.
Because consciousness, the raw awareness, is.
What is the consciousness? That you can match. From these 4, from the 4 direct perception. The 4 direct perception.
The direct perception of form.
Sense. Ngusum shijoro. Sense, mental, self-cognizing, yogic.
So for me, within the idea of direct perception of form would be the mind not having to go through inferential cognizers, subsequent cognizers, raw consciousness, and so on. So the consciousness, raw awareness itself, is aware of the sense data directly. That rather than going through a labyrinth of cognizers, it directly perceives the form. But then beyond the form into.
So are you saying this should be the meaning of yogic direct perception?
No, yogic direct perception would be all the way down to perceiving the more homogenized layer of reality. From this perspective, there is you and there is me. And we can see that the forms vary. But when we go down into the different layers of feeling, down to the different layers of discrimination and separation, then we come to the compositional factors, and it's much more homogenized. Then it's a great big soup. The whole reality is a great big soup of data. That's all it is.
Rakwane to do set the Kurang Punga Delta December. Tawang do the Kurang Alta original Pungu Mash Tongo Marosa. And the name and the Pavajambachik Dima, the things of the Lore. The chickens and so what and to share the change.
You should Tatarwa. You check or Shepatalachivina.
The Punga Grimbush or a different color. Punga and Sugu Punga so to share to Jenamash Mama Martism that charge that the Mama number show to them that Sangmal number was Sumboro. The Takuran color Mama Martu charge to go Tongodusa.
The charge of the 누구야? 그 이나 하기 무슨지대 딜라 잘했다. 자나단 디선도 그랬어.
그만한게 능력 권한지 방점진라서 어디 마음버체 곰줄로스는 자나 지금 말어요.
곰줄로도 잘해나? 저는 나중 웃음데 가리 부모님은 갈래지지.
So they're just asking, again, I think same question that I asked you. Yogic direct perception, which yogic direct perception and self-cognizing, where will these two fit in the 5 aggregates?
Okay, within Duce. Because instead of thinking of the death of the ego as you progress, you can't get rid of that, but you can expand it to include everything. So as you further into reality, if you put it in quotes, that you investigate, the further and the deeper that you go, the idea of self is expanded to be ever present rather than separate.
그래서 가정 아주 띵서버서버 마트네게 칼라오레 풍부 강사죠라 강사라로 나라오레 니 칼라오레 상말 총바지 차르가로 통부도사 카가마이 봐 당보던도 강사 니 카가이 먹어도 안데네 마마마지 풍부
강사인이잖아 한데스
So he's just asking, when you say separate self, what do you mean?
Like, from this perspective, I see you as a separate entity. But then going further in...
Tanang azo dus chidega lang azo phagi zubun thong atala pena met ki zubun thong ala met thong se lagora. Zuki pumpote met rang marwa.
So right now, we use that designation, that labeling. When we say we saw mad, but we are referring to his aggregate. But in reality, that aggregate is not mad.
Right.
Jiden ding tangi da khado ila sabi sheba. Jiden tangi la khat saja de thong ala jiden ding if the khado thong ala ni be mi de thong te dini ches chawa dini ches lagor ma da one jene te marwa che cheba one namji ten ni cheba che yona.
So in the text, Abhidharma Kosh, it says that at the conventional level, when we see color and form, then we say, there is that object. But that is, if you, analyze, that is not exactly the, reality. At the conventional level, when we see, as we use the example of Matt, when we see his, form and his color, we say there's Matt there. But, so that's a conventional level of, how we designate and how we imputate it. But it is not the reality. Reality is, the aggregate is not the Matt, not Matt.
The question here that I'm asking is...
원에다 가르쳐 내중 원에다.
아이.
내중 원에다 가르쳐 안타는 부.
내중 원에다 당장자디 가르면 그것도 떼자. 지디기.
So the one way of saying is that the reality is whatever is apprehended by the yogic direct perception.
And what is apprehended by yogic direct perception?
근데 가르쳐. 아이. 여기 내중 무슨 게 So guys, you can analyze on that. You can try to find what is your direct perception.
kiram pumbung namni ma jagi na ma nga charu was. Yeah, right. Pumbung ma ina kyo nga yorges.
So if 5 aggregates. So if 5 aggregates is marked, then there there is 5 marked.
대 말아왔어. 아니 그런 게 세바데 겨 말아왔어. 아니 마시데 따사데 가봐 마시데 당이데 가봐 주고도.
So just analyze on your.
당이 나기베 당이 세자고도 란센 세고도. 제가 다시데 파기니 니고리 당이 들라 रागी उचु गेमने काजा से इगी नामशेलम के थानेते इगी नामशेल तागुरे तेया इगी नामशेल अठरा मांगबो न यबनानी एनी छिंगची पे विंटुंडंगी विनिंगी इशिजिला मादा 단디 개발도 집이 이실제나 천디 개발도 집이 이시데 가도로 천디 가다 천디 개발도 집이 이신 가래 된디 그 말도 쉽지 않도 세고.
So is that you can just kind of investigate for yourself. When you call yourself Mark, where is that Mark? And try to find that Mark on yourself, whether it is aggregate, whether it is consciousness, and where is Mark on yourself. And therefore, coming back into the autonomous middle way school, they says that when you designated something or when you label something, that designated object should be findable if you put under analysis. So therefore, when they say that we mentioned this last class, when they say person or I or self, and try to find on you, and they sort of insist that sixth mental consciousness is the I, and that sixth mental consciousness is not kind of all the consciousness, but the consciousness that comes from past life, exists right now, goes into a future, and that kind of continuity of that consciousness is so according to their own philosophy, the designation, whatever is designated, should be findable.
So what's happening here now is we've decided to say the mark is the label, but then we've replaced it with a mental or a sense direct perceiver, mental direct perceiver, self-cognizing direct perceiver, and yogic direct perceiver as 4 new labels. So we got rid of Mark as the one label. Now we have 4 brand new labels. They are still labels. And we're still not addressing the sense data that I'm trying to bring us to. All we're doing is getting into dialectic dancing. Those are 4 different labels.
This four. The musum shishdo. Kuna magal majune yang musum shidi ming pejna da tae de simbal ta go this na kora jan de go do sa.
Ka.
Tae thonde. Ta den kora jan de do sa.
Deda mare.
Ta den kora jan de sa. Magal na simbal ta go sa.
Karsa. Wambungsum magula yere. Wambungsum yore. Najungusum da ni yomar de lapse yomar latuye yomar kiron lat tonin me la thona tene pe ji one gilike nani yungur mata te mata yoy khora yomar te mata jinda sema sungai phaji magulai kigres sangdu najungusum ke yedme taji tini latuye yomar
Kiga rail and your rail. Tanda your rail.
Tanda Wambungsum Yara Danga, the Buzubunga, Nishiki Yore, any Kai, ni Rojimboza, Chichigi, Chewangani, Yera, no way. The Yumusum Yora, the amount is Kangating Yora, and the Nishiki Bichigora. Any Rari Musum, Shiva Chigi Shiva, there are Musum Pachatai. You will lose and Java.
So when you look at yourself, using these 4 types of direct perception, which I said, we can say that sense direct perception, mental, and self-cognizing, according to autonomous school, all these 3, does exist in yourself. But he said he's not sure about the yogic, sense, yogic direct perception. So within Geshe-la himself, he said he's 100% sure that he doesn't possess yogic direct perception. So, since one's mind is not hidden to, one's knowledge or one's thought is not hidden to oneself, he knows that, he doesn't possess yogic direct perception. Let alone yogic direct perception, he even is having a hard time understanding what is self-cognizing consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll stop here.
Jambal Pawe Chitra Kembata Kondo Sambo Dean Teshin de Teda Kungi Jeso Nalo Yoa Deda Tamje Rato Tisum Shabe Jawa Tamje Gyeongowa Kangla Chodong Aba Nenda Jingye Sawa Dege Sambo Jenje Rato Ngowaraki. In the land encircled by snow-white mountains, the stars of Lord's near person shall see Tenzin to remain until samsara ends, just as the Bodhisattva Manjushri attained omniscience and Samandava true. So now do we take this for all things to as all the victorious Buddhas of past, present, and future, praise, dedication, and supreme. So now I do dedicate these sources of my manners for all things to perfect. Oh yeah, thank you.